Hello and welcome to this session. This session is in continuation with the series of sessions that we are having with the ultimate aim of developing a fully functional e-commerce Android application. Now, if you want to have a look at the final output, there is a video in the same playlist which you can see, and that will give you a very fair idea of what the final product is going to be. Now, in the previous sessions, what we have done is we have developed a splash screen, and in the splash screen, while there is the icon, the logo of the application is being displayed on the front on the UI. In the backend through JSON, we are getting the list of available cities or the cities that we want to service from the server. And in the next screen, which is a city selection screen, we are asking the user to select the default city of their choice. Now, after these two activities are done, what we do is we are moving to the home screen. I'll just explain to you what the home screen will look like. So the home screen is going to have an action bar on the top, and below the action bar we are going to have a tabs bar, which is also a kind of an action bar, and there will be three tabs there. One is the search tab, the second will be my cart, and the third will be quick order. Now in the search tab we will have the user do the product search, so they will be able to search by category or they will be able to search by the product name. And once the search is done, if they do an add to cart, that product will get added to the cart. Now the items which are in cart will be available in the second tab, which is my cart, and from here they can remove any one of the items which they have already added. They can change the quantity of the ordered items, and then they can obviously go ahead and place the order. And the third tab is a quick order tab, where the most frequently bought items for this particular user is going to be available. We are going to build some kind of a logic to populate this list, and the user can quickly add items from this list into the my cart, and then again go back to my cart and then proceed with the checkout. So what we are trying to do is we are going to use a widget called ViewPager, and we will use this widget to basically have three different tabs within the same activity. Now each of the tabs are going to be fragments. Now fragments are kind of subtasks which can operate only within an activity. So activity is going to be home screen, and within the same home screen activity we are going to have three different fragments, one for search, one for my cart, and the third one for quick order. And these three activities are to be switched between themselves using what we call as the view pager. Now also we have to note that we are going to add a tabs bar on the top, so that if the user can navigate between the fragments either using the tabs on the top, so if they press on the tab, the fragments are going to switch between themselves, or the user can navigate between them by just simply doing a left swipe or a right swipe. Both these methods will be enabled. Now this is the code for the home screen. Before we go into the home screen, let me take you through the layouts which we have designed. So the first is the home screen layout. Now in the home screen layout, if you can see that there is only one widget which we have added, and that is the ViewPager widget. Now the code for this is as follows. Now here we have provided the ID for the ViewPager. The width is obviously match parent. The orientation we have kept it as vertical, and the background we have kept it as white. Now this is what is a very simple basic setup of a ViewPager. Now obviously the ViewPager is just like a placeholder, and the fragments are going to be superimposed on top of the ViewPager. The ViewPager is just to tell us, or just to tell the application that there are going to be multiple fragments, and we will be switching between these fragments based on the user interaction. The next thing that we are going to look at is these three fragments: the my cart fragment, the search fragment, and the quick order fragment. Now if you look at the my cart fragment, right now I have kept it very simple, and we have not added too much of code. If you look at it, it just says that it's a linear layout, and I've just done a fill parent for the width and the height, and I've assigned a ID, and obviously I've put a background color. The color is not important. I have put it as a fluorescent green. This is just so that we are able to identify when the tabs are being switched. The next fragment that we have designed is for the quick order. Again, it's more or less the same thing. Here I have kept the color as a shade of pink, light shade of pink, so that again we know that when we are swiping between the tabs, we can see the change of color and we know that our code is working. And the third one is fragment search. Here also it's the same piece of code, and I have kept a color of light blue, again so that it is visible when we do switching between the tabs. Now these are just placeholder XMLs, and obviously as we go ahead and build each of these tabs, we will put much more code into this. But for the time being, to understand the ViewPager concept and how it swipes between the different fragments, this piece of code is good enough. Now because these are all done, I am closing these out, and I'm closing the activity home screen XML as well, because here all we have is a ViewPager. Now that the layouts are done, I will go back to the home screen.java, which is the activity class. Now here what we are trying to do is basically write the code for the ViewPager and also write the code for the action bar on the top, which is the 3 tabs, and then ensure that there is a correlation between the two. So basically if the user does a swipe on the tab, then also the tabs selection should change on the top action bar, and if the user selects the tab using the tab options on the action bar, then also the swipe should happen. So how we are going to do that, we will have a look right now. Now what to begin with, what we are doing is we are initializing the action bar with a variable to a variable, the ViewPager to a variable, and FragmentPagerAdapter to a variable. Now we will come back to FragmentPagerAdapter in some time because we need to understand what it typically does. For the time being, just take it for granted that this is a custom class which is an extension of the FragmentPagerAdapter. We will see what it does in a short while. Now in the onCreate method, what we are doing is we are obviously calling the super.onCreate, which is the inherited class. And so what we are doing is we are setting the ID of the ViewPager, which we have initialized, to the r.id.pager, which is nothing but the ViewPager widget which is available in activity home screen. There, if you look at it, this is the ID that we have initialized and mapped it to. Sorry, it became full screen. Yeah. Now here what we are doing is we are initializing the fragment page adapter. We are creating a new instance of it, and we are setting this new instance of fragment page adapter as the adapter for the ViewPager. So what content to display in the ViewPager will be returned by this particular fragment page adapter. Now moving on, this is a part of the code where we are defining the action bar. Now please remember that there is an action bar on the top which is there unless we hide it. Now here what we are doing is we are adding tabs, which is basically going to add a new action bar just below the application action bar. Now here what we are we have created a new action bar, and in the new action bar what we have done is we have set the navigation mode as tabs, and we have set the display options as show title. So what it means is that it will show the names of the tags on each of the tabs. Now after that what we are doing is we are going ahead and creating three new tabs. One will be called search, the second one will be called cart, and the third one will be called quick order. The next thing that we do is to create the on page change listener for the view adapter. Now whenever the user uses a swipe left or a swipe right to switch between the tabs, this particular method within the on page change listener will get called, which is known as on page selected. and the argument is nothing but the position of the um, position of the tab which is visible now. So if it will be 0, 1, 2, basically because there are 3 tabs, it will be 0, 1, 2. So if the user is looking at the extreme left one, it will be 0, then the next one will be 1, and the next one will be 2. So this argument is nothing but the position of the fragment which is visible right now as per the user. So notice that I had mentioned earlier that there are two ways for a user to flip between the three different fragments or the three different tabs. One is they can do a left swipe or a right swipe. The second one is they can use a tab. Now the tab is controlled by this bar. What is visible, which tab is visible is controlled by the bar, and the left swipe and right swipe is what this on page change listener will capture. Now if the user has done a left swipe from 0 to 1, then that means that previously 0 tab was visible, now 1 tab is visible. Now the tab has changed. Now correspondingly we also need to change the tab selection on the top action bar, because otherwise what will happen is the user will use a left and a right swipe, the fragments will keep changing, but the selected tab on the top action bar will remain the same, it will not change. So to keep both of these in synchrony, what we are doing is, because there is a change of page, we will basically set selected navigation item on the action bar to the same one. So what will happen now is, if the user selects a left swipe or a right swipe, correspondingly immediately that selected tab on the action bar will also change to the corresponding position. Now on page scroll, straight change, these are we can leave it blank for now. We don't need to make any changes here. Now notice that here what we have done is, if the user selects a left swipe or a right swipe, then the tab corresponding to that in the action bar will change. Now what happens if it is the other way around? What happens if the user selects the tab from the tabs in the tags available in the action bar? So you also need to simultaneously change the fragment which is visible right now in the ViewPager. So how do we do that? This is handled in this part of the code, which is on tab selected. Now this will get called whenever a new tab is being selected from the action bar. And now if it is selected, what is going to happen is that we are going to set the current item in the ViewPager to the same position which is there in the tab. So now if the user selects the tab number 3, then it will return in tab position as 2, because the tab's numbering is 0, 1, 2. So what this statement will do is, it will change the ViewPager, the current item which is visible in the ViewPager, also to 2. Now this is the part of the code where we are just inflating the menu that we have already constructed. Now there is a separate tutorial on how to inflate the menu, and this tutorial is also there in the same playlist, so please go ahead and have a look at it if you want to see more detailed explanation of how to inflate and operate with menus. Yeah, so this is just going to inflate the menu, and this will be visible on the top action bar extreme right hand corner. Now once this is done, all we have ensured is that a ViewPager is initialized, a ViewPager is visible to the user, and we have also defined that there will be 3 tabs. There is a tab bar on the top, just immediately below the action bar, and the user can also navigate either by using the tabs or by doing a left swipe or a right swipe. So this much we have enabled. Now the next thing that we are going to look at is the fragment page adapter. Now you notice that we had used a custom object here, fragment page adapter here, and we had used that as the adapter for the ViewPager. So the code for that is what we have put in this particular class. Now coming to this, this custom page adapter is extending the custom pager adapter which is there in the support.v4 library. and here we are calling just the super method. And what is happening here is that there is a method called getItem, and this method is called by the ViewPager to understand which particular fragment should be displayed. Now, no, you remember that here in ViewPager we have assigned the adapter as this FT, and this FT is nothing but an instance of this FragmentPagerAdapter. So here, if the ViewPager calls this method internally uh, getItem, then what it is going to return is basically which particular fragment is to be called. So if it is 0, it will call the search fragment. If it is 1, it will call the myCart fragment. And if it is 2, it will call the quick order fragment. Now, so all that is left for us to do is to create 3 different fragment code which will get called based on what the item which is to be displayed and which has been decided by the view pager. Now if you look at it, we have created 3 different fragments. One is myCart, one is quick order, and the third one is search. Now the code is pretty much the same right now for all these 3 because all we are doing is we are just displaying the fragment, that's it, and nothing much more. But as we progress, each of these will have substantial amount of code based on what we are trying to achieve in each of these fragments. So I will just explain one of them to you, and the other 2 are just a copy paste, but I'll tell you where exactly they might vary. Now here I have just initialized a view which is my fragment view, and notice that this does not extend an activity, it extends a fragment because the activity for home is going to be the home screen, and these 3 are going to be 3 different fragments within the same activity, and their activity would continue to be the home screen activity. So here we have the onCreate method where we are just calling super, and this is where we are just inflating the view of this current fragment to fragment underscore myCart. Now this is what we had created earlier, which just has a linear or a relative layout which has certain background color. That's it. So between myCart, quick order, and search.java, if you look at it, the only thing that has changed is this fragment name. So here it is fragment search. Here, if you look at it, it is fragment quick order, and here it is fragment myCart. So now that we have created the code for all the 3 fragments, what we will do is we will go ahead and run this particular project. But before we do that, there is one more thing that we need to do. So I will just close these files because they are already done. Yeah, so coming back to city screen and start screen, you remember that when we were working on city screen and start screen, the home screen was not yet ready. So there is an intent which is there, which we had commented out, where we would be calling the home screen. Now if you look at it, these 2 lines were commented out. Now we need to uncomment these 2 lines so that the city screen will call the home screen as the next activity to be called once the user has selected the default city. Now for second or subsequent logins, we have defined it that way that it would not go to the city screen, it would directly go to the home screen because the user would have already selected the default city. So these 2 lines of code would have been commented out. This is in the on post execute. So we need to uncomment these 2 lines of code. So now what we are going to do is we are going to execute this code, and let's go to the mirroring application, which is just mirroring my phone. And as you can see, the application has opened up in my phone. Now because this is the first time login for the application, it is asking me to select the city. So here I am selecting Gurgaon, and once I select Gurgaon, it takes me to this particular home screen. Now as you can see, there are 3 tabs which we have defined: search, myCart, and quick order. Right now search, which is the first tab, is selected, and if I'm just using a swipe left, and as you can see that we have moved to the next fragment, which is which is cart, and then if I swipe even more, it is moving to the quick order. Now as you can see, this is the selected tab. Now if I do a swipe, this selection moves to my cart. If I do one more swipe, it will move to search. Now this is when we are using the swipe. Now I can also do the same thing by clicking on cart. Now if I click on cart, it will move to the cart, and if I click on quick order, it will move to quick order. So I can either navigate using the tabs. I can press search here and it will move to search. So I can use the tabs here, or I can use the swipe. Both will work. Now this is the action bar on the top, and as we had seen in the previous session also, this is a menu which we are using. Now right now there are three options available: login, order history, and settings. Nothing will happen if you click on them because we have not defined the action, and we will do that in subsequent sessions. That's it for this session. If you found this informative, please do not forget to press the like button. Also do subscribe to our channel if you want to have a grounds up understanding of how to build your first e-commerce application on Android. Thank you.